80 years ago, the global order collapsed. Over the span of 6 years, violence across multiple continents claimed the lives of 70 million people. To understand the political borders and alliances that govern our lives today, you have to look at the ruins of this specific conflict. Long before the fighting started, the groundwork was laid in the wreckage of the First World War. In Germany, the economy was in ruins. Hyperinflation wiped out savings, and finding basic necessities like butter meant standing for hours in line. When a nation's economy fails so completely, it strips away the population's belief in their institutions. The Weimar Republic struggled to function, leaving a massive political void in the center of Europe. Adolf Hitler stepped into this void. He tapped into deep public anger, promising order and national restoration, while quietly building a militaristic state answerable only to him. Extreme ideologies do not emerge spontaneously. They thrive when systems fail, weaponizing public desperation into state-sanctioned aggression. For years, European leaders tried to manage this aggression through diplomacy and concessions. On September 1, 1939, that strategy failed. German forces physically tore down the border checkpoints and marched into Poland, turning years of political tension into active kinetic warfare. Europe relied on a complex network of defense treaties. If one nation was attacked, allies were required to intervene. Within 48 hours, Britain and France declared war. Because these nations held global empires, the localized dispute instantly drafted millions across multiple continents. The defense pacts designed to deter conflict acted as a tripwire. A single invasion triggered a chain reaction that set Europe on fire. The conventional strategies of the First World War were quickly abandoned. Militaries shifted their focus from isolated battlefields to entire societies, targeting civilian infrastructure to paralyze enemy nations. Relentless aerial campaigns reduced European capital cities like London to rubble, turning civilian neighborhoods and commercial districts into the front lines of the conflict. While Europe burned, a separate, rapidly expanding empire was securing territory across the Pacific Ocean. Japan needed resources to fuel its military expansion and sought to eliminate any potential naval threats in the region. In December 1941, the Japanese military launched a surprise strike against the American naval fleet at Pearl Harbor, crippling the Pacific Fleet in hours. Before the smoke cleared, the United States abandoned its isolationist stance. The attack fused the European and Pacific conflicts into a single, cohesive global war. By expanding so rapidly, the Axis powers stretched their supply lines across thousands of miles. They were fighting simultaneously in the blistering heat of the Pacific Islands and the freezing depths of the Soviet Union. On the Eastern Front, the German advance finally stalled. The Battle of Stalingrad devolved into a grinding war of attrition. Exhausted and lacking winter supplies, hundreds of thousands of Axis troops surrendered to the severe cold and the Soviet army. To exploit this geographic weakness, the Allies needed to open a second front in the west. This required breaching the heavily fortified coastline of occupied Europe. The Normandy invasion required immense logistical coordination. Land, sea, and air forces struck the beaches simultaneously in the largest amphibious assault in history. Allied troops secured a physical foothold on the continent. From the beaches, they pushed steadily inward, forcing the German military to fight on retreating fronts. Reversing the Axis advance required a massive global industrial base. The Allies systematically coordinated manufacturing and supply chains to outproduce and outlast the enemy's logistical networks. By early 1945, the German military apparatus had collapsed. Allied forces from the east and the west converged, slowly squeezing the capital city. The aggression that began in Poland ended in the physical ruin of Berlin. The government's center of power was reduced to hollow, bullet-scarred stone. In May 1945, the remaining German command surrendered unconditionally. The European fighting stopped. On the other side of the planet, the Pacific theater remained locked in brutal island-hopping campaigns. The Japanese imperial forces continued to fortify their positions, refusing to yield. To force a definitive end to the Pacific conflict, The United States deployed atomic weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The resulting blasts leveled the cities instantly, leaving nothing but absolute flatness and skeletal remains. Securing the final surrender required crossing a devastating threshold. Humanity had engineered the ability to wipe an entire city off the map in a fraction of a second. The formal documentation was signed on the deck of an Allied battleship in Tokyo Bay, finally closing 6 years of global bloodshed. The surviving population inherited a fractured planet. Across Europe and Asia, millions of civilians had to clear the brick debris of their flattened cities by hand. The scale of the carnage proved that the previous systems of international relations had completely failed. The United Nations was constructed as a new diplomatic framework, designed specifically to mediate disputes before they could trigger another planetary conflict. The stability we experience today was built directly upon the graves of 70 million people. The institutions that govern our modern world exist to keep that history from repeating itself. If you appreciate historical deep dives like this, hit subscribe. Let us know in the comments